A famous actress maintained her devilishly perfect figure thanks to magic chopsticks that let her eat without gaining weight. I messaged her husband, advising her not to use those chopsticks, as they were bad for her health. That evening, the actress screenshotted my message and posted it on her social media, along with a caption. "If you want to seduce men, just say it directly. Don't play these ghostly tricks, saying I'm sick. I think asterisk you're the one who's sick." Overnight, the actress's fans attacked me online, driving my name to the top of the trending searches. But a few days later, she came to me, weeping and pleading, because those chopsticks were a ghost artifact. The China University of Science and Technology held an alumni reunion. Old friends gathered, and among them was Yang San. Mysteriously, she pulled out a photo of a young man. "Who's this?" I asked, curious. Yang San paused for a moment before replying. "That's Gu Jingzhi. He was the senior who pursued you in our freshman year. Don't you remember? In my freshman year, over 4 years of college, many people pursued me. If it were anyone else, I probably would have forgot. But Gu Jingzhi was the first person to write me a love letter, so I had a slight impression. I nodded doubtfully and asked, "Why are you showing me his photo? Is he dead?" "No." Yang San covered her mouth, almost laughing, and pointed to a banner hanging nearby. "It seems you two really haven't kept in touch. Gu Jingzhi, CEO of Jingzin Group. I work at his company, and his younger sister is even in the same department as me. Do you know why his company is called Jingzin?" This question stunned me. My name is Suzin. Gu Jingzhi started a company called Jingzin. Now that Yang San said that, it felt like my head was about to explode. "It can't be that deep, can it?" Yang San chuckled wistfully. "How can a man's white moonlight be forgotten so easily? His younger sister told me that CEO Gu used to really like you. It's a shame he got married last year, otherwise you'd be meeting him today." It's probably better not to meet him, I thought to myself. His wife? I was speechless. What if I did meet him? Gu Jingzhi and I have no relationship whatsoever. But no sooner had I finished speaking than an elegant male voice echoed from behind me. "Beautiful Sue, so many years have passed and you're still as heartless as ever." The man himself had arrived. I turned around to see a face identical to the photo Yang San had shown me, handsome, calm, with an added touch of refined gentleness. Yang San gasped and quickly stood up. "I'm sorry, Mr. Gu, we were just chatting." "It's all right." Gu Jingzhi extended his hand towards me, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Suzin, long time no see." I stood up and shook his hand symbolically. "Senior, long time no see." Gu Jingzhi smiled as he looked at me, but suddenly, from behind him, a charming woman wearing oversized sunglasses stormed towards us. She walked quickly, immediately linking her arm with Gu Jingzhi's, her eyes behind the sunglasses staring intently at me. "Darling, who is this young lady?" The woman's voice was a bit cold as she clung tightly to Gu Jingzhi's arm. I noticed that the moment the woman arrived, Gu Jingzhi's expression subtly changed. He held her hand and explained with a smile, "No, she's just an old classmate. Zhou Xiaoman, let's go over there and look." Gu Jingzhi wanted to leave, but the woman remained still, continuing to stare at me. I could only take the initiative to greet her. "Hello, you must be my sister-in-law, right? I'm Suzin." "You used to be Suzin." The woman's voice suddenly rose several octaves. She immediately pulled her hand away from Gu Jingzhi and shouted, "Gu Jingzhi, were you two meeting up? Did you just arrive and already conspire together? How wonderful." "What's wrong? Aren't you going to introduce her to me?" "Are you afraid I'll eat her alive? What is this all about?" I listened, understanding nothing, and stared at Gu Jingzhi and the woman in astonishment. "Sister-in-law, you've misunderstood," I explained. The woman looked at me again, coldly saying, "Misunderstood what? Who are you calling sister-in-law? Who is your sister-in-law?" "Zhou Xiaoman, it's really not what you think," Gu Jingzhi explained awkwardly. "We just met by chance. The school faculty and reporters are over there. With so many people, can I explain it to you later?" Just then, the school faculty also approached. I was fuming, about to get angry, but then I felt something was off. There was a very heavy negative aura around that woman. When we bumped into each other earlier, I had felt a chill down my spine. "See how formidable she is?" Yang San whispered beside me. "Zhou Xiaoman, the popular actress who plays a ghost woman." I heard Gu Jingzhi's younger sister say that recently, Zhou Xiaoman and Gu Jingzhi have been frequently arguing because of you. "Zhou Xiaoman?" I thought. I remember she's been in quite a few TV shows lately, and she's indeed very famous. But Yang San's words confused me. I looked at Zhou Xiaoman's retreating back and asked curiously, "What about me? Why are they arguing because of me?" "Gu Jingzhi still hasn't forgotten you," Yang San said helplessly. I was stunned. "He hasn't forgotten me? What does that have to do with me? Who did I provoke? But I wasn't really concerned about that. What I was curious about was the heavy negative aura around Zhou Xiaoman. What exactly was it? In traditional Chinese medicine theory, the human body emphasizes the balance of yin and yang. When yang energy is too strong, it leads to rising heat, irritability, and anger. When yin energy is too heavy, the body becomes cold, fears the chill, and is prone to anxiety and depression. In Feng Shui, excessively strong yang energy often leads to disputes and blood-related disasters. Too heavy yin energy results in unfavorable circumstances and a depletion of blessings and fortune. The antique world also values Feng Shui. In a book left by my father, it stated that a person with heavy yin energy could very likely suffer a loss of lifespan. The morning alumni reunion concluded. At noon, everyone was arranged to eat in the school cafeteria, reminiscing about the youthful years gone by. Yang San and I sat in a corner, and by chance, Gu Jingzhi and Zhou Xiaoman were not far from us. While eating, I unconsciously looked towards Zhou Xiaoman, only to see her holding a pair of silver chopsticks and eating with great relish. She's enjoying her meal, isn't she? Yang San looked in Zhou Xiaoman's direction, sighing, "Our CEO's wife is famous for two things at the company. First, she's famous for being jealous of you. Second, she's famous for eating a lot. Since late last year, in just one evening, she's eaten 3 pieces of pumpkin, half a chicken, 2 slices of cake, a portion of sashimi, not to mention other dishes. The important thing is, no matter how much she eats, she doesn't gain weight." I asked skeptically, "How can a woman eat so much and not get fat?" Plus, she's an actress. Yang San leaned closer to my ear and whispered, "I heard Gu Jingzhi's younger sister say that Zhou Xiaoman has a pair of chopsticks consecrated by a high monk. Using them, no matter how much she eats, she won't get fat." A high monk? I've been dealing with antiques for so long, and I've never heard of chopsticks consecrated by a high monk that could prevent weight gain, but these chopsticks truly piqued my interest. I cleared the food tray from my table and carried it towards Zhou Xiaoman's table. But as soon as I got close, Zhou Xiaoman's assistant stepped forward to block me. "Miss, please don't disturb CEO Gu and Mrs. Gu while they're dining." The assistant was about 30 years old, with thin lips and sharp eyes, and a very cold voice. I smiled at her and said, "This is the China University of Science and Technology cafeteria, not CEO Gu and Mrs. Gu's private restaurant." The assistant raised her eyebrows, her sharp gaze fixed on me. "That's enough, Sister Zhou." Gu Jingzhi stood up from his seat. "This is the school cafeteria, and she's my classmate." As Gu Jingzhi stood up and said a few words, Zhou Xiaoman let out a sneering laugh. I didn't understand why she was laughing like that, but I took the opportunity to get a good look at the chopsticks she had just put down. They were a pair of silver chopsticks, engraved with dragon and phoenix patterns, and their color suggested they were quite old. Zhou Xiaoman wiped the silver chopsticks with a tissue, not even looking at me, and said with a hint of sarcasm, "No wonder the calendar said not to go out today. It's easy to encounter petty people." "Gu Jingzhi, I've lost my appetite. Your white moonlight has come knocking. You too can catch up." Zhou Xiaoman's voice was loud, and everyone in the cafeteria looked towards Gu Jingzhi and me. I explained, "Zhou Xiaoman, you've misunderstood. I came to find you because of the chopsticks in your hand. Those chopsticks must be an antique, right? I'm an antique dealer. In our profession, there's a taboo. Ancient artifacts, especially those used by the occupant of a tomb during their lifetime, cannot be used by the living. If they are, then." Before I could finish, Zhou Xiaoman completely ignored me and glared at Gu Jingzhi, saying, help me take care of a man, you mean? Fine, I'll give you two an opportunity. Gu Jingzhi, isn't she still in your heart? You don't need to come home tonight. Go to a hotel with her and relish the youth you never had to your heart's content." Having said that, Zhou Xiaoman left with her assistant. "I'm sorry, Suzin." Gu Jingzhi apologized to me, then turned and rushed after Zhou Xiaoman. The two of them, one walked ahead, the other pursued behind, with a crowd of reporters following and taking photos. It was quite a spectacle. I stood there, a self-deprecating smile on my lips. The chopsticks in Zhou Xiaoman's hand had a very heavy yin energy. They must have been a ghost artifact. I originally wanted to save her life, but in our profession, saving someone also depends on fate. It seems our fate has run out. In the world of antiques, artifacts are divided into 3 types. One is called antiques, another funerary objects, and the last yin artifacts. Antiques are ancient items passed down through generations. Funerary objects are items buried with the dead, but not in the coffin or used by the tomb owner, so they aren't contaminated with yin energy from the corpse. The final type, yin artifacts, are grave goods buried within the coffin itself. These three types of antiques, once buried long enough and absorbing sufficient yin energy, have the potential to become legendary ghost artifacts. Ghost artifacts possess all sorts of strange powers, but those who use them and become enveloped by yin energy will suffer a loss of their lifespan. 4 years ago, before my father passed away, he entrusted me with our ancestral antique shop, Heart Studio. This turned me, a person who should have been researching physical science and contributing to the nation, into a small shop owner, spending all my days surrounded by antiques. Heart Studio is a hereditary asset of the Zhou family. Most of the items within it are ghost artifacts collected by generations of the Zhou family. We, the Zhou family, collect ghost artifacts not to use them ourselves, but to dispel their yin energy and restore their original appearance as antiques. If someone uses a ghost artifact and becomes afflicted by yin energy, it is also our responsibility, the Zhou family, to step in and help. Why do we do this? I don't know either. Father only said that this is what the Zhou family ancestors have done for generations, and it is the responsibility of every Zhou family member. Because of this, the antique world of China deeply respects our Zhou family. They call us ghost-dating merchants, and I am the 33rd generation inheritor of the Zhou family and the only female ghost-dating merchant recorded in our family. After the alumni reunion trip, that evening I boarded a plane back to the capital. When I landed, I opened my phone and immediately received 4 consecutive messages. They were all from Gu Jingzhi, full of apologies, telling me not to worry and that he would personally apologize to me if he had the chance. I ignored them and took a taxi home, near the Panjiayuan area. Arriving home, my black cat, Sooty, was squatting by the door, waiting for me. Sooty meowed when he saw me, then continuously rubbed against my leg. I was tired all day, so I took off my high heels, picked up Sooty and stroked his little belly, asking with a smile, "What's wrong? You missed me so much after just one day?" Sooty purred, rubbing his head against my chin. Just as I stood up to tidy the house, my phone on the table lit up again. This time it was a WeChat message from Yang San. It contained Gu Jingzhi's apology, relayed through her, and also informed me that today's incident had been suppressed, and no photos or videos would be circulated. It was only then that I realized Zhou Xiaoman's misunderstanding, accusing me of being a homewrecker, was not as simple as I had thought. I picked up my phone and replied to Gu Jingzhi with a message. "Please relay this to Mrs. Gu. Everything today was a misunderstanding. I do not wish for this matter to affect my life." Very quickly, Gu Jingzhi replied, "I'm sorry, Su Zin. What Xiaoman did today was wrong, but rest assured, I will not let this affect your life." This response gave me a headache. I looked at his message, unsure what to say next. After some hesitation, I replied with a warning. "There's something I should warn you about. The chopsticks Zhou Xiaoman is using are a ghost artifact. It's best not to let her use them anymore, as they are not good for her health and could cause illness." I didn't directly say they would deplete her lifespan. After all, some things outsiders might not believe even if I said them. Besides, looking at Zhou Xiaoman's current state, the yin energy on those chopsticks wasn't too heavy, so the loss of lifespan wouldn't be extensive. Moreover, I didn't actually intend to interfere. I simply considered it a final, well-intentioned reminder to Gu Jingzhi. Very quickly, Gu Jingzhi sent me another message. "Oh, is that so? All right, I'll remind her. Thank you." Just then, my phone ran out of battery, so I stopped paying attention to Gu Jingzhi, put my phone on silent mode, and set it aside to charge. As far as I was concerned, the matter was closed. But I never expected that the next morning, when I woke up and picked up my phone, I would see several WeChat messages from Yang San, along with screenshots and a link to Zhou Xiaoman's Weibo post. I opened the link and looked at Zhou Xiaoman's post. It clearly showed screenshots of 2 messages between Gu Jingzhi and me. One message was Gu Jingzhi saying he wouldn't let this affect my life. The other was my warning to Gu Jingzhi that Zhou Xiaoman could get sick from using those chopsticks. Zhou Xiaoman had added a caption below, "If you want to seduce men, just say it directly. Don't play these ghostly tricks saying I'm sick. I think * you're the one who's sick." At this point, The post's views and shares on Weibo had already exceeded 10 million, directly climbing to second place on the trending topics. And when I looked at the first place on the trending topics, I was stunned. Husband suspected of affair with white moonlight. Zhou Xiaoman angrily scolds homewrecker. I took a deep breath and clicked on it. Sure enough, the video inside was the clip of Zhou Xiaoman scolding me in the cafeteria, and the comments below were overwhelmingly one-sided. Hate homewreckers, why don't they just die? Before, she scorned him for being poor. Now that CEO Gu is successful, she's rushing to cling to Jingzhi Group. Jingzhi and Su Xin Gu Jingzhi is also a scumbag. Xiaoman is so wronged. Stealing a man and then cursing Xiaoman with illness. Where did this bizarre woman come from? Someone kill her. So beautiful, she could do anything, but instead she chooses to be a homewrecker. She truly disgraces us women. Each abusive comment, and someone had even taken clear screenshots of my appearance from the video. I took a deep breath and turned off Weibo. In my phone's messages, there were also over 10 apologies from Gu Jingzhi. He also assured me that he would definitely make Zhou Xiaoman clarify the matter. I didn't reply to any of Gu Jingzhi's messages. To Yang San's concern, I replied a few sentences, explained the ghost artifact situation, then tossed my phone aside. I sat on a reclining chair in the yard, holding little Sooty, basking in the sun. What had happened had happened. I was never the type to get angry over a small matter, to make a fuss about life and death. That only causes severe internal exhaustion. Some things, once they've happened, you just deal with them step by step, slowly. And for things that can't be resolved, then don't resolve them. The situation continued to spread. People online began searching for my personal information, and all sorts of rumors emerged. Some said I had many romantic relationships in high school. Some even claimed I got into the China University of Science and Technology through connections. Others insisted they were students from the university, saying they used to see me getting into old men's cars every day, occasionally switching designer handbags, a typical gold digger, they claimed. For 5 or 6 consecutive days, the trending searches online were nonstop. It was clear someone was deliberately trying to harm me. Fortunately, because of past events a few years ago, I had always lived a reclusive life, so those searching for my personal information online never managed to find my residence. It wasn't until half a month later that the news online suddenly died down a bit. Feeling that public opinion had somewhat subsided, I went out that evening, taking my little Sooty to Heart Studio. The rule of Heart Studio was to open at midnight and close at dawn. I entered the shop, turned on the gramophone, held my little black cat Sooty in my arms, and sat on the swing chair, reading ancient books left by my father. Heart Studio is next to Panjiayuan, and since it only opens at night, there are very few customers during the day. Occasionally, a couple of people would come in out of curiosity, but I didn't need to greet them. However, this time, I hadn't been reading for long when Sooty lifted his head in my arms and let out a meow. A young woman entered the shop, examining each antique item very carefully, checking their prices. After a tour, her gaze settled on me, staring at my face for a moment. "I'm the shop owner. May I help you find something?" I sat up and asked. The woman frowned slightly and said, "Each item here is worth tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands or millions. Are they really worth that much?" She was asking if they were genuine. I introduced myself to the woman. Every antique in Heart Studio is genuine, and most have auction records. I also provide appraisal certificates from renowned domestic experts, but I don't think you're here to buy anything. The woman nodded slightly, looking at me. "It seems you truly aren't seducing my brother for money. My name is Gu Lingyu. Gu Jingzhi is my older brother. Gu Jingzhi's younger sister." I looked at Gu Lingyu, puzzled. She had a pretty figure, an oval face, and wore a thin white down jacket. Her nose tip was slightly red, likely from the chill on her way here. "Miss Gu, you must have gone to a lot of trouble to find this place. Is there something I can help you with?" I asked in return. Gu Lingyu nodded slightly, rubbing her hands together. "Could you give me a cup of tea? Or perhaps we could find a cafe to talk later." I nodded and poured Gu Lingyu a cup of light tea. At this moment, I sensed that Gu Lingyu seemed very nervous. When people are nervous, their whole body grows cold, especially in autumn and winter. Gu Lingyu sat down on the chair beside me, cradled the teacup, took a few sips, then looked up and asked, "Are the ghost artifacts you and San mentioned real?" As expected, she came to ask about ghost artifacts, but what surprised me was that the person who came was not Gu Jingzhi, nor Zhou Xiaoman, nor anyone from Zhou Xiaoman's family, but Gu Jingzhi's younger sister. Some things are real if you believe them, and not if you don't, I replied frankly. If I tell her and she doesn't believe, it's a waste of breath. If she truly believes, it won't be too late for me to explain later. Gu Lingyu looked at me silently and said, I've been in Panjiayuan for 3 days. I've been asking people about you and the ghost artifacts. The people there have quite a good relationship with you. Perhaps it's because of my sister-in-law's previous Weibo post. They didn't want to tell me your whereabouts. I wasn't surprised. The vendors in Panjiayuan were all friends of the Su family. If they found an item suspected to be a ghost artifact, they would immediately bring it to me to examine. They would naturally not do anything that would harm me, but Gu Lingyu still found me. I added a little more hot water for Gu Lingyu and said, You've been asking around for so long and you've found me. That's enough to prove you believe in these strange things. It seems you care a lot about your sister-in-law, but I'm sorry, I won't save Zhou Xiaoman. No, Gu Lingyu shook her head and said, I don't care about her, I'm worried about my brother. Gu Jingzhi. I asked doubtfully, what does your sister-in-law using a ghost artifact have to do with your brother? Sister Su Xin, Gu Lingyu held her teacup and asked me very seriously. You said that people who use ghost artifacts will lose lifespan, and the more they use them, the faster they age. Is there a possibility that someone using a ghost artifact could deplete someone else's lifespan? As soon as Gu Lingyu uttered these words, I stood up in shock and asked, Are you saying that the person whose lifespan is being depleted is your brother? That can't be right. I've never seen a case where someone using a ghost artifact depleted someone else's life force. Gu Lingyu took out several photos of Gu Jingzhi from her bag. They were clearly printed from phone pictures. I took the photos. The first photo clearly showed Gu Jingzhi looking younger than when I last met him, with a vibrant smile. In the second photo, Gu Jingzhi's face showed more maturity. In the third photo, Gu Jingzhi looked refined, with a hint of melancholy in his eyes. When I turned to the fourth photo, I was horrified by Gu Jingzhi's appearance within it. His skin was sallow, and streaks of gray appeared in his hair, which couldn't help but remind me of myself 4 years ago. My father was gravely ill. To allow him to finish his final instructions regarding the Su family, I had used the Eternal Lamp Ghost artifact, sacrificing 30 years of my lifespan to keep my father's last breath alive for 1 day and 1 night. That night, my hair turned from black to white, and my aged appearance was almost identical to Gu Jingzhi's in the photo. I put down the photos and asked Gu Lingyu when they were taken. My brother and sister-in-law have been married for 1.5 years. The first photo was taken 1 month before they got married. The last one was 3 days ago, Gu Lingyu explained. In this 1.5 years, my brother has aged at least 20 years. He went to the hospital for checks, and there's nothing wrong with him, just accelerated aging. Now he has to wear makeup and dye his hair to dare go out. Sister Su Xin, you and San said that lost lifespan due to using ghost artifacts can be recovered. Can you help my brother restore his youth? I sat on the chair, confused, and said, I have a way to help people who use ghost artifacts restore their youth. However, typically, users of ghost artifacts deplete their own lifespan. I've been managing Heart Studio for 4 years. The ghost artifacts I've encountered before only amounted to 3 items. The users of these 3 ghost artifacts all depleted their own lifespans. There has never been a case of someone depleting another person's lifespan. But I have seen in ancestral records that there truly is a method in this world. Or rather, there are some ghost artifacts that can deplete another person's lifespan for one's own use. Seeing my hesitation, Gu Lingyu immediately came before me, knelt down, and cried, Sister Su Xin, I beg you, you must save my brother. Our parents died young and my brother raised me. He liked you very much when he was in school. If I hadn't been a burden to him, he would surely have pursued you persistently at school. Later, he earned money, and for years, he has always been looking for news about you. This matter had nothing to do with whether Gu Jingzhi pursued me or not. I helped Gu Lingyu up and gently said, Things aren't as you think, Gu Lingyu. Please stand up. Even if your brother were a stranger, if he is worthy of saving, I would still save him. Dealing with ghost artifacts is the responsibility of every member of our Su family. If it were Zhou Xiaoman, my fate to save her has already run out. If Gu Lingyu came to find me, there's no reason I must save her, and I wouldn't act. But Gu Jingzhi is different. If Zhou Xiaoman intentionally made a mistake, using Gu Jingzhi's life to satisfy her personal desires, then I absolutely cannot stand by and do nothing. I comforted Gu Lingyu and then instructed her, Gu Lingyu, I will help you with this, but give me a day or two. During this time, you need to help me confirm something. With that, I took out several paper-thin peach wood pieces from a cabinet nearby. Peach wood can ward off evil spirits. I handed them to Gu Lingyu. These are peach wood. Place 2 pieces under your brother's pillow and 2 under your sister-in-law's. Take them out after one night and then send me photos. Gu Lingyu nodded eagerly, carefully putting away the peach wood. Sister Suzin, should I hide my sister-in-law's chopsticks first? Gu Lingyu asked again. I shook my head. Don't do that. Many things are still uncertain. Don't make a rash move and stir up the grass to scare the snake. Also, when you go back, don't show any signs. Wait until I'm ready and I'll tell you what to do next. Gu Lingyu took a deep breath, then came before me again, about to kneel. Don't kneel, I said, helping Gu Lingyu up. Go home early. I added Gu Lingyu on WeChat and then took her to a car by the road. As she was about to leave, I casually asked one more question. Gu Lingyu, who told you about my whereabouts here? Oh, Gu Lingyu paused for a moment, then replied, a brother about 20 years old. He said his name is Zhang Chu. Zhang Chu? I stared, wide-eyed. Gu Lingyu, sitting in the car, asked me, Sister Suzin, is something wrong? No, I shook my head. You go home first. Message me if anything happens. Gu Lingyu waved at me, closed the car door, and drove away. I watched Gu Lingyu drive into the distance, then stood still, looking at the dimly lit streets on both sides. I usually felt nothing, but now that Gu Lingyu mentioned the name Zhang Chu, a sudden sense of dread filled my heart. I kept feeling that person was lurking in the shadows, staring at me. Zhang Chu. The first time I heard that name was 6 months ago. Half a year prior, Zhang Chu, along with the family of a ghost artifact user, came to me, asking for help with a ghost artifact called the 4-fish brocade copper mirror. Originally, my fate with the user had run out, and I wouldn't have intervened to help. But Zhang Chu gave me a compelling reason to save them: the gold-plated cloud bird eternal lamp that I had previously used to sustain my father's last breath. That year, to keep my father alive, I had sacrificed 30 years of my lifespan. After my father gave all his instructions, I fell into a coma. But when I awoke, the lamp was gone. Because of this, I couldn't recover my lost lifespan. I had aged 30 years overnight. It could be said that the gold-plated cloud bird eternal lamp was half my life. I had searched for 3 years with no results. I never expected that Zhang Chu would eventually have someone bring the lamp to me, helping me recover over 20 years of my lifespan, thus restoring my youth. Later, after Zhang Chu disappeared, I inquired among pawnshop owners. They said Zhang Chu was the owner of the 10,000 Blessings pawn shop. However, no one knew where this pawn shop was. They said 10,000 Blessings pawn shop was a title, and which specific pawn shop inherited this title was unknown. But whenever the 10,000 Blessings pawn shop changed owners, they would notify their colleagues by letter. Zhang Chu was the inheritor of the 10,000 Blessings pawn shop title 5 years ago, becoming its 28th owner. The name that had vanished for half a year reappearing by my side made me uneasy. Dawn arrived and I closed Heart Studio. I took little Sooty for a walk around Panjiayuan, then returned to my small house. In the west room of the house, there were many books, all ancestral records. They documented the ghost artifacts and antiques the Su family ancestors had encountered, big and small, cramming the over 50 square meter room. My father, when he was alive, wasn't a tidy person. Many records were moldy, and some had even been chewed by mice. Later, when I inherited the family business, I repaired a portion, but a part still remained untouched due to lack of time. I researched documents in the study all morning, but found no records about ghost artifacts depleting the lifespan of others. At lunchtime, Sooty nudged my arm with his head, then climbed onto my lap. I yawned sleepily, stroking Sooty's head. If you're hungry, go eat your own food, okay? I need to find records, or maybe you can help me look. Sooty tilted his head, looking at me. I gave a helpless smile. This cat was left by my father before he passed away. He seemed to be exactly 1 month old then. I've raised him for almost 4 years now, though I call him Little Sooty. He's actually quite an old cat. Sooty is very understanding, and importantly, when I'm dealing with artifacts, he can help me find my way. But asking him to help me find records, it seems I'm asking too much. I stretched my back, and just as I was about to get up and move a bit, Sooty crawled into the bookshelf, sniffing around randomly. After a few sneezes, Sooty emerged from the bookshelf, holding a tattered, old record book in his mouth, and brought it to me. I took the yellowed notebook. Most of the cover was missing, but one character remained. 17. The 17th generation ghost dating merchant. I opened the notebook. It was all in traditional Chinese characters, but I could read them all. When I saw the 4th page, the first line of text immediately sobered me up. Spousal coffins, mother-child coffins, paired ghost artifacts. The one whose lifespan is depleted is either the wife or the husband, or the mother or the child. I looked at the text before me, biting my lower lip slightly. Spousal coffins, mother-child coffins, paired ghost artifacts. On the surface, it meant that coffins of husbands and wives or mothers and children, buried together, could produce paired ghost artifacts. And if the users of these paired ghost artifacts were a husband and wife or mother and child, the one whose lifespan was depleted could be either the husband or the wife, or the mother or the child. Wow, Sooty, you're amazing. I put away the notebook, hugged Sooty, and gave him a quick kiss. Sooty struggled, and I carried him out of the study. The reason why ghost artifacts deplete others' lifespans had been found. I took out my phone and messaged Gu Lingyu. Gu Lingyu, do your brother and sister-in-law both have a pair of silver chopsticks? Very quickly, Gu Lingyu replied, yes, they do have a pair of silver chopsticks. I only saw my brother use it once. Sister Suzin, are you saying the silver chopsticks my brother uses are a ghost artifact? I replied, I'm coming to Shanghai tomorrow. Don't act rashly. Wait until I arrive, then we'll talk. After preparing what I needed, I rested for a night. At dawn, as the sky was about to lighten, I drove the Porsche, a gift from a former client, to Shanghai. The car sped down the road, with Sooty stretching on the passenger seat. It wasn't until almost 1 p.m. that I arrived at the hotel I had arranged with Gu Lingyu, but Gu Lingyu wasn't there, and she didn't answer her phone. I could only leave Gu Lingyu a message, then waited in the hotel. Closer to dusk, Gu Lingyu finally replied to my message and sent me a location, telling me to go to the villa at that address. I drove to Gu Lingyu's villa. When Gu Lingyu saw me at the door, she first looked around outside before opening the door for me. There were 2 men inside the room. You two, please go outside first. No one is to speak of what happens here, Gu Lingyu instructed, and the 2 men left. I curiously observed the simply decorated villa and asked Gu Lingyu, this isn't your brother's house, is it? Why are we here? Sister Suzin, let's go upstairs. Gu Lingyu didn't explain, leading me upstairs. I followed behind, carrying Sooty. When we reached the master bedroom on the 2nd floor, I finally saw Zhou Xiaoman tied up tightly like a bundle of reeds. Zhou Xiaoman was bound to a chair, her mouth taped shut. As soon as she saw me, she struggled fiercely, her eyes full of anger. What are you doing? I looked at Gu Lingyu in shock. Gu Lingyu replied, Sister Suzin, aren't we supposed to deal with the ghost artifact? I thought you would definitely need her and those chopsticks, so I had someone bring her here. This is kidnapping. I stared at Gu Lingyu, wide-eyed and dumbfounded. Gu Lingyu placed the 2 pairs of chopsticks in front of me. I hesitated for a moment, not planning to say much more for now. Gu Lingyu had already done it, and I wasn't one to be stubborn. I decided to assess the situation first and then decide. Zhou Xiaoman, bound to the chair, struggled even more violently as soon as she saw the chopsticks. That's how ghost artifacts are. Once used, yin energy invades the body and brain. Invading the body depletes one's lifespan, while invading the brain causes the user to be controlled by the ghost artifact, becoming immersed in its use until their lifespan is completely depleted and they die. To recover the lifespan lost to a ghost artifact, Zhou Xiaoman truly needed to be present, but simply having her there was still useless. I glanced at Zhou Xiaoman, who was still struggling, then picked up the 2 pairs of chopsticks on the table. These 2 pairs of silver chopsticks, one was intricately engraved with dragon patterns and the other with phoenix patterns. The phoenix pattern chopsticks, having been frequently used, had become even brighter and more lustrous. The dragon pattern chopsticks, on the other hand, must not have been used as often, as they still retained some traces of time. Judging by the color of the dragon pattern chopsticks, they were likely artifacts from the late Qing dynasty or early Republican era. Their age wasn't particularly ancient, yet they possessed the power of a ghost artifact. This point surprised me greatly. In all the records I had seen, ghost artifacts were usually ancient objects over 300 years old, at least from the late Ming and early Qing dynasties. Mid-Qing ghost artifacts were even rarer. Yet, these silver chopsticks before me were modern objects, and a matched pair at that. I took the phoenix-patterned silver chopsticks and walked towards Zhou Xiaoman. Zhou Xiaoman indeed relaxed considerably. The closer I got, the calmer her eyes became. Zhou Xiaoman, I said, placing the chopsticks on her lap, I'm going to remove the tape from your mouth. Don't scream, there are some things I need to ask you. Zhou Xiaoman glared at me fiercely. I had no other choice but to reach out and tear off the tape from her mouth. As soon as the tape was off, Zhou Xiaoman turned her head, trying to bite my hand. Fortunately, my hand was quick enough to dodge. Susan, this is kidnapping. I'm telling you, you'll go to jail. Gu Lingyu, are you crazy too? I'm your sister-in-law. How can you help a homewrecker deal with me? Help! Zhou Xiaoman shrieked hysterically. Gu Lingyu spoke up coldly from the side. Go ahead and scream. The soundproofing here is excellent. You can scream until your throat is hoarse. It'll be useless. This girl was no pushover. I found it inconvenient to gag Zhou Xiaoman again, so I just held the chopsticks and said, if you scream again, you won't get these chopsticks. What do you want to do? Zhou Xiaoman stared at me with wide eyes. I observed Zhou Xiaoman's eyes then, holding the chopsticks, slowly retreated step by step. When I was about 6 meters away, Zhou Xiaoman's eyes began to show anxiety. How did you get these chopsticks? Do you know what they do? I returned to within the 6-meter range and asked Zhou Xiaoman. The anxiety on Zhou Xiaoman's face disappeared when I mentioned the chopsticks' function. Her eyes darted away slightly as she said, what function? They're just to check if food is poisoned. I use silver chopsticks to eat because I'm afraid someone might poison me. Poisoned? Zhou Xiaoman was clearly lying. I sat down on a nearby chair and said, you're a public figure, so you pay close attention to maintaining your figure and controlling your weight. But every time you eat excessively, completely ignoring dieting. Don't tell me there's no reason. What if I eat and don't get fat? What if I'm born with poor absorption? Zhou Xiaoman quickly said, glancing at the chopsticks in my hand. Susan, you'd better release me immediately. My assistant contacts me every 30 minutes. I've been kidnapped for over 30 minutes already. I respect Gu Lingyu for being Jingzhi's sister, so I might overlook your foolish behavior this time. But if my assistant calls the police, it won't be a matter of whether I forgive you or not. It'll be a criminal case, and all of you will be prosecuted. Just as I was about to continue asking questions, Gu Lingyu went wild, pulling a knife from her bag and heading towards Zhou Xiaoman. Damn you, Zhou Xiaoman, you killed my brother and I will absolutely not let you live in peace. Zhou Xiaoman shrieked in fear. I quickly stepped forward in fright, standing between the two of them. Gu Lingyu, what are you doing? Put the knife down. Sister Su Zin, don't stop me. Isn't she obsessed with beauty? Doesn't she want to maintain her figure? I'll cut her face and see who she dares to meet, or how she can be an actress after this. Gu Lingyu's face was contorted with fury. I quickly tried to reason with her. What about your brother then? Aren't you going to save your brother anymore? At the mention of Gu Jingzhi, Gu Lingyu regained some semblance of reason. Gu Lingyu put down the knife, took out photos from her bag, and with red eyes went up to Zhou Xiaoman, weeping. Zhou Xiaoman, my brother treated you so well, do you have no conscience? Look what you've done to him. 2 photos. One was Gu Jingzhi before marriage, the other was a recent photo of him. Zhou Xiaoman's current state was a bit different from other ghost artifact users I had seen before. When the chopsticks were nearby, she didn't seem to lose her rationality at all. Just when I thought Zhou Xiaoman would feel fear and regret, she became even more outrageous. He deserved it. Zhou Xiaoman snorted coldly, looking towards me and yelling, this is the consequence of his philandering. Gu Lingyu, I didn't kill your brother. If you want to find the culprit, find asterisk her asterisk. If she hadn't seduced your brother, how would he have ended up like this? That's not right. Gu Lingyu also paused slightly when she heard Zhou Xiaoman's words. I asked doubtfully, what do you mean by that? Zhou Xiaoman turned her head away, saying nothing. I spoke up again. Zhou Xiaoman, you've always misunderstood the relationship between Gu Jingzhi and me. After he graduated from university, we never met again, nor did we ever contact each other. Your claim that I seduced Gu Jingzhi is baseless. Zhou Xiaoman lifted her eyes, angrily saying, you are his white moonlight. Even if you don't contact him, as long as you exist, he will still yearn for you, especially now that he's met you again. These words were completely illogical. Even if Gu Jingzhi likes me, I don't like him. Zhou Xiaoman again shifted the blame onto me. I truly seem to be born to suffer for others' sins, but that wasn't what I was concerned about. I asked further, what does this have to do with his aging? Zhou Xiaoman stammered, saying nothing. I continued, Zhou Xiaoman, if you still love Gu Jingzhi, even if it's just a little bit, then tell me clearly now. Otherwise, in 2 months at most, Gu Jingzhi could die. If you explain clearly, perhaps I can save him. Zhou Xiaoman was silent, seemingly contemplating. After a while, Zhou Xiaoman looked up again, biting her lips slightly, and said, "Okay, I'll tell you." But before Zhou Xiaoman could finish speaking, a sudden pounding on the door downstairs echoed. The door was forcefully broken open by someone downstairs. Zhou Xiaoman immediately disregarded my previous question and yelled loudly downstairs. Very quickly, Zhou Xiaoman's assistant, Manager Fang, rushed into the bedroom with several bodyguards. "What are you doing?" Manager Fang shouted. The bodyguards immediately rushed towards us, pushing Gu Lingyu and me away. Then one of them began untying Zhou Xiaoman. Manager Fang picked up her phone and said, "This is kidnapping. I'm calling the police now. You won't get away." "Manager Fang, don't call the police," Zhou Xiaoman said, then walked up to me, snatching the chopsticks from my hand. "Suzin," she said coldly, "today, out of respect for Lingyu being Jingzhi's sister, I won't call the police." As soon as she finished speaking, Zhou Xiaoman raised her hand and slapped me. I raised my hand and caught Xiaoman's wrist, saying, "Zhou Xiaoman, Gu Jingzhi is dying. Regardless of what feelings he has for me, I have none for him. You are his wife, I'm giving you a choice. Follow my arrangements and I can save him, or I return to the capital and Gu Jingzhi's life or death will be none of my concern." Zhou Xiaoman's eyes widened slightly. Gu Lingyu, frightened, quickly pulled me back and said, "No, Sister Suzin, you must save my brother, I beg you." "Your begging is useless," I calmly replied. "You are his sister, and though your blood, it's not as strong as his wife's bond. Only if she is willing to save your brother can I help. Otherwise, the only option is for the two of them to divorce." As soon as I finished speaking, Zhou Xiaoman was pulled back by her assistant. "Xiaoman, don't listen to her about divorce," Manager Fang snorted coldly. "When you two got married, he made vows as unchanging as mountains and seas. Now she wants to take your place and wants you to willingly give up your position? Dream on." Zhou Xiaoman's eyes also grew cold, and she looked at me angrily, saying, "Suzin, you want me to give up my position? Fine. After he dies, I'll reserve a plot of land next to his grave for you two to be together." This woman clearly missed the point. Manager Fang pulled Zhou Xiaoman, wanting to leave. I stood there and spoke up again. "Zhou Xiaoman, Gu Jingzhi has at most 2 months left to live. In this world, only you can save him." Zhou Xiaoman only turned her head to glance at me, snorted coldly, and left. "It seems Gu Jingzhi still can't be saved," I sighed, taking Sooty down from the table. Gu Lingyu anxiously pulled me back, saying, "Sister Suzin, you can't abandon my brother. I beg you, you must save him." "Gu Lingyu, it's not that I won't save him, but to help your brother regain his lifespan, Zhou Xiaoman must be willing. Otherwise, only if your brother signs the divorce papers with Zhou Xiaoman and takes both dragon and phoenix chopsticks can he be saved," I explained helplessly. "Destiny is predetermined. You can't just say a few words about not loving each other and casually separate." At this moment, I also had no other choice. Gu Lingyu said in a flurry, "I'll go find my brother right away. I'll make them divorce." With that, Gu Lingyu rushed out. I held Sooty and followed her to the door. Gu Lingyu got into her car and hurriedly said to me, "Sister Suzin, wait for me. I will definitely make my brother divorce Zhou Xiaoman." "I'll wait for you for 3 days, 3 strikes and you're out. After 3 days, I absolutely must return to the capital," I instructed, then walked towards my sports car. 3 days. This was the last chance I was giving Gu Jingzhi. But I waited in the hotel for 3 days and Gu Lingyu never came, not even a message. I didn't force the issue. I took Sooty and left Shanghai. My fate was again exhausted, so I returned to the Panjiayuan in the capital and waited for another month. During this time, Yang San messaged me a few times. I didn't explain much about the previous events, casually giving a few vague reasons to finish the conversation. Meanwhile, news finally spread online that Gu Jingzhi, the CEO of Jingzin Group, was gravely ill and absent from board meetings. I scrolled through videos, occasionally still seeing comments accusing me of being a homewrecker. That evening, I lay on my swing chair, stroking little Sooty's belly, watching the news in a video. Just as I was lamenting Gu Jingzhi's fate, the shop door was pushed open. Then, a cold gust of wind made me instinctively shrink back. Zhou Xiaoman, Gu Lingyu. I looked at the two of them with suspicion. Gu Lingyu rushed a few steps towards me, crying, "Sister Suzin, please save my brother. My brother is almost gone." I glanced at Zhou Xiaoman. Her face was somewhat somber, appearing even colder than the last time I saw her. "Suzin, can you really save Gu Jingzhi?" Zhou Xiaoman asked me with a cold voice. I smiled faintly and shook my head. No, I can't. Zhou Xiaoman looked at me, stunned for a moment, then her eyes widened. Didn't you say that day that as long as I agreed, you could save Gu Jingzhi? What do you mean you can't now? I could then, but I can't now, I replied. In our profession, saving people depends on fate. That day in the China University of Science and Technology cafeteria, I originally wanted to say a few words to you, but you cut off the fate yourself. Later, Gu Lingyu sought me out. Her brother was the one harmed, so the fate was still there. But when we went to Shanghai, you, as Gu Jingzhi's wife, severed this fate. Zhou Xiaoman quickly said, "What's all this about fate or no fate? Don't play these ghostly tricks. Suzin, just say it directly. I will not divorce Gu Jingzhi. Even if he dies, I won't divorce him. Don't even dream of it. For other matters, I can give you money, just name your price." Money? I pulled the worried Gu Lingyu beside me to stand up, then walked to a display cabinet nearby, pointing to a Rui jade pendant. This Han Dynasty white jade Rui pendant, imbued with color, was auctioned in Hong Kong 3 years ago with a transaction price of 7.8 million yuan. Zhou Xiaoman was a little stunned. I then walked up to a painting, pointing to it and saying, "This galloping horses painting, highly praised by Master Su Beiheng, was auctioned in Singapore in 2021 with a transaction price of 508 million yuan. Zhou Xiaoman took a few steps closer, looking at the painting and calligraphy. I pointed to a vase next to her, smiling softly. "You'd best not touch that vase. It's a bit expensive." This flared-mouth vase with 8-sided Xuan Yun Guan, where glaze from the late Song dynasty, was auctioned at Sotheby's Hong Kong in 2017 for 204.1 million yuan. When I acquired it, it already cost 25 million yuan. Of course, you could pay for it if you broke it, but it's unnecessary. Zhou Xiaoman frowned, looking at me. I sat back on my Huang Huali reclining chair and said, "You see? The items in just one of my rooms alone add up to at least 2 billion yuan. Do you think I would care about Gu Jingzhi for money, or agree to help you for money? Zhou Xiaoman, don't look at me with your arrogant attitude. I've said the fate is exhausted. If he can't be saved, he simply can't be saved." Gu Lingyu, anxious, again knelt beside me, crying, "Sister Suzin, please, I beg you. I can't live without my brother, he's really almost gone." This time, it was Zhou Xiaoman who pulled Gu Lingyu up. Zhou Xiaoman stared at me and said, "What exactly do you want to be willing to save Gu Jingzhi? The fate is exhausted. He can't be saved unless you give me a reason why I must save him," I asked, holding Sooty. Zhou Xiaoman looked at me silently, then suddenly knelt down and said, "I apologize to you, is that enough? Suzin, as long as you can save Gu Jingzhi, I'll do anything you ask." "Kneel," I looked at Zhou Xiaoman, still shaking my head. "Apologize." And just then, Gu Lingyu's phone rang. Gu Lingyu picked up her phone, opened a message, then quickly showed it to me, saying, "Sister Suzin, you absolutely must save my brother. You absolutely must save him." I looked at the message, puzzled. It read, "Suzin, save Gu Jingzhi, and I will tell you the secrets about the Su family that you don't know. Is this reason enough for you to save Gu Jingzhi?" "Zhang Chu, it's this guy again." I was stunned. Then I picked up the phone from the table and called Zhang Chu's number. Beep. After more than half a year, it was the first time I managed to connect to Zhang Chu's number. The call connected. I asked into the phone, puzzled, "Are you Zhang Chu?" "It's me," Zhang Chu's voice sounded. "Suzin, do you want to know why the Su family has to collect ghost artifacts? Save Gu Jingzhi, and I'll tell you a secret about the Su family." I snorted softly. "A secret about the Su family?" "I'm a member of the Su family. What could I possibly not know?" "You guess," Zhang Chu chuckled into the phone. Beep. The call disconnected. That damn guy, always playing mysterious. I put down my phone, scratched Sooty's belly, and looked at Zhou Xiaoman, who was still kneeling on the ground, for a long time before making a decision. "Stand up, prepare a private jet. I need to bring my cat." Gu Lingyu nodded eagerly. "I'll go prepare it." Zhou Xiaoman slowly stood up, glanced at me, and said, "I hope you can save him. It won't be in vain that he never forgot you all these years." After speaking, Zhou Xiaoman walked out. What did she mean by that? I couldn't quite understand. Private jet was ready. I carried the necessary items and Sooty, and early the next morning we departed for Shanghai. After getting into the car, I sat opposite Zhou Xiaoman. After a moment of hesitation, I couldn't help but ask, "Why do you always feel he hasn't forgot me? Also, why did you previously say Gu Jingzhi deserved what he got?" Zhou Xiaoman turned her head and snorted softly. "Suzin, at this point, do you still need to hide things? I'm begging you to save Gu Jingzhi. First, it's because I love him. Second, it's because the company cannot function without him now. Otherwise, Jingzhin will go bankrupt and I will also be implicated. As for whether he loves me in his heart, I no longer dare to hope. What was this? Her tone still wasn't right. I asked again, what am I hiding from you? The chopsticks developed side effects precisely because Gu Jingzhi had a change of heart, didn't they? Zhou Xiaoman asked me coldly. I stared, wide-eyed and dumbfounded, at Zhou Xiaoman. And at that very moment, the car in front suddenly stopped. Very quickly, several cars surrounded us. Zhou Xiaoman's assistant, Manager Fang, quickly rushed to our car, holding a club and shouting for the door to open. Gu Lingyu, Su Xin, I warned you both last time. Now you've kidnapped Xiaoman again. The police will be here soon, just wait to go to jail. Just as Zhou Xiaoman was about to open the car door, I immediately pulled her back and asked, wait. Who told you that the side effects appeared because Gu Jingzhi had a change of heart, Manager Fang? Zhou Xiaoman paused for a moment, then nodded. Manager Fang helped me get the chopsticks. She said, as long as husband and wife are of one heart, I will get what I wish, but if one of them has a change of heart, they will bear the consequences of that change. If Gu Jingzhi wasn't thinking of you in his heart, how could his lifespan be depleted? I finally understood. Driver, I decisively called out to the driver, then said to Zhou Xiaoman, you don't trust Gu Jingzhi, but you trust your assistant instead. There is no ghost artifact in this world that can measure a person's true heart. Ghost artifacts deplete people's lifespans because the user is too greedy, allowing yin energy to invade their body. They fundamentally cannot deplete one's lifespan due to a change of heart. Gu Lingyu also told the driver to drive faster. The driver decisively reversed the car, knocking Manager Fang and the bodyguards blocking the front of the car away, then drove onto a side road. Zhou Xiaoman, sitting next to me, hurriedly said, no way, Manager Fang has been with me for years, she's always listened to me. How could she lie to me? Of course she lied to you, I retorted. Before, did you struggle with your weight? I asked Zhou Xiaoman. Zhou Xiaoman hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Yes, when I first became famous, due to a hormonal imbalance, I gained weight even from drinking water, missing many endorsements. Later, Manager Fang helped me get these 2 pairs of chopsticks. At this moment, Zhou Xiaoman's eyes widened, and she said nothing more. Now do you understand? I snorted coldly. You are her cash cow. She got you these chopsticks so you could earn money for her. But these chopsticks cause Gu Jingzhi to age. So she fabricated the excuse that Gu Jingzhi had a change of heart, so you could comfortably suck Gu Jingzhi's life force dry. At this moment, Zhou Xiaoman's face turned pale. Gu Lingyu also spoke up from the passenger seat. Sister-in-law, my brother did like Sister Su Xin before, but that was all in the past. My brother was never a fickle person. The reason he married you was certainly because he truly loved you. You were always deceived by Manager Fang, believing my brother had a change of heart. You've been with him for so long, don't you have any feeling whether he was sincere with you or not? Zhou Xiaoman's eyes were panicked, and she held her head, crying, it can't be. How could Manager Fang do such a thing? What have I done? Jingzhi, he's all like this because of me. Human greed, it's not just ghost artifact users who are greedy, I sighed. Just as I wanted to comfort Zhou Xiaoman, our car was violently rammed from behind. In an instant, our car lost control. The driver tried his best to maintain control, but the car behind us violently rammed us towards the roadside, almost overturning into a ditch. Manager Fang jumped out of the car behind us, holding a window-breaking hammer, smashing the car window and yelling at us, Xiaoman, get out of the car quickly. I'm here to save you. I'll call the police later, none of you will escape this time. Call the police? I said coldly. Go ahead and call them. At my words, Manager Fang was stunned. Zhou Xiaoman didn't get out of the car but looked at Manager Fang coldly and said, Manager Fang, about Gu Jingzhi having a change of heart, have you been lying to me all this time? Xiaoman, Manager Fang argued urgently. How could I lie to you? Those chopsticks can help you stay in shape and prolong your acting career. Gu Jingzhi had a change of heart, that's why the chopsticks backfired on him. He deserved it. You can't trust her. Everything I said is true. I didn't interrupt, waiting for Zhou Xiaoman to decide for herself. After a moment, Zhou Xiaoman finally spoke. Manager Fang, you're fired. Xiaoman, what are you saying? Manager Fang immediately shrieked piercingly. Zhou Xiaoman, are you crazy? I've done so much for you and you want to fire me? Zhou Xiaoman, do you know how much effort I've put into you? Without me, you were just a no-name star. If it weren't for me, Zhou Xiaoman spoke again, Wang Fang, you're fired. From now on, don't bother me anymore. Zhou Xiaoman? Manager Fang shrieked frantically. Fine, you fire me, then no one will live in peace. At worst, the fish dies and the net breaks. All your past scandals, how you depleted Gu Jingzhi's lifespan to maintain your figure'll expose everything. You won't be able to stay in this industry ever again. Zhou Xiaoman ignored her and told the driver in front, drive. The driver slowly reversed the car, no longer paying attention to Manager Fang, and then continued moving. Along the way, Zhou Xiaoman said nothing more. We arrived at Gu Jingzhi's villa. The doctors and nurses were caring for the weakened Gu Jingzhi. At this point, it looked like Gu Jingzhi had lost at least 40 years of his lifespan. I need to prepare a bit. We'll have to wait until tonight, I instructed the two of them. Then, looking at Zhou Xiaoman, I said, there's one more thing I need to remind you about. Even if Gu Jingzhi recovers his lifespan, there will still be some depletion. Also, since these ghost artifacts are a pair, if he suffered a loss of lifespan, you will also suffer a loss. Zhou Xiaoman nodded slightly, saying nothing. I hesitated for a moment, then added, you might age 7 or 8 years overnight. At that point, your acting career might be. Zhou Xiaoman's eyes welled up with tears. She took out her phone and posted on Weibo, retired, returning to family. From now on, I only want to be a good wife. I looked at that Weibo post and couldn't help but sigh. Night fell, and at midnight, I drew protective talismans on the room door, then lit a white candle in the corner of the room. The flickering blue-white flame illuminated the room. I turned to Zhou Xiaoman, who was carrying Gu Jingzhi, whom I had wrapped in red rope on her back. When the door opens later, I'll be in front, pulling you with the rope. Follow closely, don't get lost. Zhou Xiaoman took a deep breath, then nodded at me. Midnight had arrived. A drop of blood from my fingertip fell onto the doorknob. The crack in the door instantly spread out into a screen of black mist. Follow me, I instructed Zhou Xiaoman, then placed the little sooty, whom I had been holding, on the ground. Holding the cat with one hand and Zhou Xiaoman with the other, I stepped into the black mist. The fog obscured my vision. Sooty led the way. I gave Sooty a soft command. Sooty meowed, then pulled the rope in my hand, walking through the black mist. Strange sounds continuously echoed within the black mist. I followed closely behind Sooty, not daring to be careless, while also holding Zhou Xiaoman's rope tightly, moving forward one step at a time. After roughly a quarter of an hour, Sooty slowed his pace. A moment later, the black mist in front slowly dispersed, and an extremely desolate street appeared before me. I tugged on Zhou Xiaoman's rope. Zhou Xiaoman also appeared on the street, looking around in surprise and asking me, "Is this the ghost market you spoke of?" I nodded, ignoring the faint, hazy figures visible on the street, and pulled Zhou Xiaoman forward. A small building with white lanterns appeared before me. Creak. The closed door of the small building opened from within as I stepped onto the threshold. I led Zhou Xiaoman into the building. A handsome man with defined facial features, a somewhat pale complexion, and dressed in white appeared in the center of the main hall. The man in white smiled at me. "Welcome to the Heaven and Earth Merchant Guild. Little one, this time you've brought 2 people, neither of whom has lost their soul. It seems like a great bargain." I took out the 2 pairs of chopsticks from my chest and said, "The old rule, 80% for the original owner, 20% for my commission." The man in white took the chopsticks, but his expression changed, and he raised an eyebrow looking at me. "Little one, you've misjudged. These dragon and phoenix husband and wife chopsticks are not ghost artifacts." "Not ghost artifacts?" I was surprised. But the next second, the man in white spoke again. "Ghost artifacts take 3 years to form. Your professional skills are really not proficient. However, this item has very heavy yin energy, and I do accept it here. 1 Jin, 3 Liang, 2 Cayenne of yin energy, which converts to 39 years of lifespan. 80% belongs to the original owner, and 20% belongs to the guild. Thankfully, it's still accepted." I breathed a sigh of relief. The man in white then looked at Zhou Xiaoman and said loudly, "Female of a married couple, faithful wife, young lady, your husband suffered a loss of lifespan because of you. Are you willing to pay it back?" Zhou Xiaoman paused for a moment, then asked in return, "Are you making me suffer a loss of lifespan to bear it?" "I agree." The man in white smiled faintly and nodded. "Contract complete." From deep within the store, a very long arm stretched out, grabbing the pair of dragon and phoenix husband and wife chopsticks. Black energy surged out from the chopsticks, finally transforming into a black orb that the long-armed beast snatched, then tossed into a large bronze furnace in the center of the main hall. The man in white held a ledger and a blood-stained pen, beginning to make marks in the book. After the entries were made, the man in white smiled at me and said, "Little one, these things have heavy yin energy. Next time you encounter more, you can bring them. I can give you an extra 20% for your trouble. You now have 128 units of heaven and earth currency. Do you want to buy anything?" "No need, leave it for now." I shook my head slightly. The man in white nodded. The blood-stained pen fell onto Gu Jingzhi's forehead, then again onto Zhou Xiaoman's forehead. Gu Jingzhi's face became rosier, while Zhou Xiaoman suddenly had a few strands of silver hair, and her complexion was clearly no longer as plump as before. "Is this the loss of lifespan?" Zhou Xiaoman's eyes filled with tears again. Everything was done. I took Sudi and Zhou Xiaoman out of the ghost market, through the mist, and back to the room from earlier. I closed the door, looking at the white candle in the corner of the room, which had burned down by 2/3. After the candle was blown out, the black mist completely dissipated. Sudi went to a corner by himself, curled up, yawned, and fell asleep. I helped Zhou Xiaoman and Gu Jingzhi untie the red ropes. It's all settled. Gu Jingzhi's lifespan has recovered. He should wake up soon. Zhou Xiaoman helped Gu Jingzhi onto the bed, then wearily shifted closer, gently stroking Gu Jingzhi's forehead, a faint smile mixed with tears in her red eyes. Everything was over. It was time for me to get my answers. Annoyingly, when I returned to the capital, I tried calling Zhang Chu for several days straight, but couldn't reach him. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore and called Gu Lingyu. The phone connected. I asked Gu Lingyu, are your brother and sister-in-law okay? Sister Suzin, my brother and sister-in-law are doing very well now, even better than before. Gu Lingyu said excitedly. Oh right, my sister-in-law said she's very sorry for everything and has publicly apologized to you online. She also said she'll send you a huge gift, so please don't be polite, you absolutely must accept it. I had already seen the apology post on Weibo. A huge gift? I didn't think I would actually receive anything. I asked Gu Lingyu again, can you contact Zhang Chu? Call him and tell him, if he dares to lie to me, I won't let him off the hook. Lingyu quickly said, oh, I'll help you contact him. A moment later, Gu Lingyu replied, Zhang Chu has answered the message. He said he'll come to your shop tonight to find you. All right, I can't reach him, but he replies immediately when someone else sends a message. I was so annoyed I could grind my teeth. I couldn't help but glance at the surveillance video on my computer. 6 months ago, when I entered the ghost market, I noticed Zhang Chu seemed to have followed me in. So this time, I specifically went into the ghost market in a room with a surveillance camera. Sure enough, less than a minute after I entered, Zhang Chu appeared in the room and followed me right in. But that guy left 2 minutes earlier than me. I felt that Zhang Chu approaching me definitely had a reason. Night fell. I sat silently on my Huanghuali reclining chair, waiting for Zhang Chu. Close to 3 a.m., the door of Heart's studio finally opened. A young man in a well-fitted suit, handsome and refined, stepped into the shop. When he saw me, he smiled and said, Miss Su, we meet again. HMPH, I snorted softly. Why can I never reach you? Zhang Chu chuckled. Perhaps we're not compatible. I wanted to spit tea in his face. Tell me, what secrets do you know about the Su family that I don't? I remained on the chair, not standing up, stroking Sudi's belly, and looked at Zhang Chu coldly. Zhang Chu let out a laugh, then turned and walked out the door. I could only stand up and follow him. Outside Heart's studio, Zhang Chu took a very old photograph from his chest. Under the dim streetlights, he asked me, does this look like this street? This street. I looked at the photo, puzzled, but when I saw the small building with white lanterns on it, I was immediately startled. This is the ghost market? I exclaimed in surprise. Zhang Chu handed the photo to me and said, that's right, this street is the legendary ghost market. The ghost market has 6 large shops, 3 of which are the Heaven and Earth Merchant Guild, the 10,000 Blessings Pawn Shop, and Heart Studio. I looked at the 3 shops in the photo in astonishment. The white lantern naturally belonged to the Heaven and Earth Merchant Guild. On the outer edge, I could see my family's Heart Studio sign. The other 4 shops were very blurry, I couldn't make them out clearly. What are the other 3 shops? Where is your 10,000 Blessings Pawn Shop? I pressed him. Zhang Chu pointed to one building and said, this is the 10,000 Blessings Pawn Shop. I don't know the other 3 shops, I'm still searching for them too. I took a deep breath and asked Zhang Chu, if this street is the ghost market, then where did I go? That place is also the ghost market. I only know that 100 years ago, a huge incident occurred on this street. 5 of the 6 large shops in the ghost market vanished overnight from the street. My ancestors found the 10,000 Blessings pawn shop, Zhang Chu said, looking at me, and your Su family has always inherited Heart's studio. My father said before he died that if anyone in this world could find the remaining shops, it could only be a member of the Su family. I asked back, bewildered, what happens if those shops are found? Can they come back? I don't know, Zhang Chu shook his head slightly. I don't understand why your Su family never told you about the 6 big shops of the ghost market, but don't you want to know the true secret of this street? Don't you want to know why ghost artifacts exist? Or rather, don't you want to know why no one in the Su family lives past 44 years old? As soon as the last sentence came out, my eyes widened in shock. That's right, no one in our Su family had ever lived past 44 years old. My grandfather was like that, my father was like that, and our ancestors all seem to be the same. Perhaps by finding those shops, you can live longer, Zhang Chu said, walking towards the darkness. He didn't turn back, just waved at me and said, I have to go home now. Su Zin, let's find the answers together. I hope you can lead me out of the darkness. Out of the darkness? Before I could chase after him to ask more questions, Zhang Chu had already vanished into the darkness.